On today's episode of The Yips, we have on Jamaal Walton, better known as Jam. As an alum of Virginia Military Institute, he has raised through the ranks through many orgs, but made his way back to VMI as the athletic director. We talk NIL, life as an FCS AD, and is the Yips going on the road? Let's dive in. Hey everyone, welcome to the Yips podcast. I'm your host, Caleb. Co-host is Chase, as always, and today we have on Jamaal Walton, nickname as Jam. I love that nickname. Welcome to the show, Jamaal.
Thank you, Caleb and Chase, man. Glad to be here.
Yeah, we're really excited to have you. For the people listening, if you didn't read the title of the episode, today Jamaal is the Director of Athletics for the Virginia Military Institute. So really excited to get into that, but you also have a plethora of other experiences, some of them namely being Florida State University, University of Tennessee, Oklahoma, University of Alabama. Chase, there you go.
Roll Tide, baby.
Yeah, roll Tide.
And then also the University of Washington. So some really cool experiences that you've had, Jamaal. Covering a little bit about your background, just kind of tell us how you got into the sporting world, like what was your upbringing like, and make it all the way to the Director of Athletics at VMI.
Yeah, I'm born and raised in the Commonwealth, so from Virginia Beach, Virginia. Always played sports. My dad was kind of your quintessential Parks and Rec dad, always had kids in the van, just driving them and myself to practices. So always was all about sports. Played football, ran track in high school, and I went to Tarwood High School, graduated, and then I went to Fort Union Military Academy. FUMA was a really cool place. It was postgraduate. I needed to work on my SAT scores, but the postgraduate coach was a gentleman by the name of John Schumann, who actually went to VMI, and he told me I was a VMI guy. And at the time, I didn't know what that meant, but he said, I really don't flinch when challenges come my way. So I ended up going to VMI, majoring in biology, and I was on the football team. I also was the class president. And one of the things about being a class president, you're very close to the leadership, the president, the executive VPs. So there was a Don't Do Ordinary campaign where they were featuring different cadets within the Corps. And I really enjoyed just the sports marketing behind it. And keep in mind, I had a biology major. So I'm like, man, communications, marketing, promotions, like this is cool. But I was getting my biology degree. So I did an internship with the communications and marketing team, loved it. And I had an opportunity to go to Florida State because our superintendent was very close to someone at Florida State. So I really went to Florida State for free in terms of almost like a scholarship.
Yep.
So go to Florida State, start doing the unpaid internship, throwing out T-shirts, throwing out, T-shirts, giving away, different prizes and things of that nature. And I realized like, this is fun. I was playing the music for the basketball games, and next thing you know, I said, this is what I want to do. So I ended up going to Savannah State University, about 8 or 9 months, cutting my teeth there. And as you mentioned, Caleb, University of Tennessee, University of Oklahoma. Then when I got to University of Alabama, I was a director of marketing. So what that means is when you went to a football game, who was playing the music, who was organizing, who goes on the field, who was working with the band on playing Yeah, Alabama, I did all of that. So at that point, I knew I wanted to be an athletic director because I was around enough people and I saw what they did and how they did it. And then I had an opportunity to go to College of Charleston, smaller school, but great experience because I learned how to wear different hats. I learned how to work with people. And I think I developed my management style too, which is really just serving people, empowering people, and really trying to put them in a situation where they can be successful. So I went to the College of Charleston for about 4 years, got married, had 2 beautiful kids. And then I got a chance to go to the University of Washington. Name, image, and likeness was kind of becoming a thing around that 2021 time. So I really wanted to kind of get some experience there. So Jen Cohen, who is now at the University of Southern Cal, gave me an opportunity to come down and work for her. I started to get more sport administration at a basketball level with a really good softball team and with a really good track and field program. So I really started to work with coaches, and I also work with Adidas in terms of the apparel company.
Oh,
So
cool.
Washington was a premier, apparel dealer in terms of Adidas. So I really had the chance to see some things at a high level.
Hmm.
And then next thing you know, man, I think the Baltimore Ravens, I'm a big Ravens fan. We were playing against the Chiefs. I know we just lost against the Bills,
Yeah, tough.
but I was watching the game and I look on my phone and I see that the athletic director retired. So thought about it. Wife and I thought about it a couple of days, and I threw my name in the hat and Rob Virginia Mill. I'm back.
There you
So
go.
that's really the story. And again, I've had tremendous people that's helped me along the way, whether that's Jen Cohen, Matt Roberts, Chris Fuller, Joe Castiglione, a lot of the big dogs in the business helped me along the way. So I'm just happy to be here. It's kind of surreal. I'm walking through the same walls I walked through in 2003 as an 18, 19-year-old kid. Now I'm 40. But I'm just blessed to be here.
That's sweet, man. So is Adidas does Washington. They sponsor Washington. Is that like
Yeah.
a Nike rivalry with Oregon and all they do for
Yeah, man.
Oregon?
Oregon and Washington, it's a
Just
rivalry,
added
man.
fuel
They
to the
don't,
fire?
yeah, Adidas, Nike, they got a lot of things that's different, man. Dogs and ducks, so I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
hey, man, you got to watch that. That is a rivalry a lot of people don't think about or talk about, but it's for real.
Yeah, I think it was brought to the attention of people the last few years when they've really had some close games, especially, what was it?
Yeah.
2 years ago now that they had those really two tight matchups or I
Yeah.
guess last year, just their last year when
Yeah,
they
I
played.
was I was on the field when we beat Oregon, and they rushed the field. This was when Michael Penix was playing that
Yep.
year, and we played Purple Rain, Purple Rain, and then everybody just came into the
Can't funnel in.
middle of the field. So man, it was Washington was a special time, man. But
Yeah.
no, I'm happy I'm back home with the Keydets.
All right. So you're best friends with Kalen DeBoer then? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I
Okay.
text with him every once in a while. I'm sure I'm
Okay.
not on his
Okay.
top 10 list, but Kalen, if you see me, man, what's going on, big dog? I'm happy for him, man, because he's a great
Yeah.
person,
Yeah.
and he's got great people.
I told Caleb, so it's an inside joke. Well, not very inside anymore. Caleb, he's an Ohio State fan, and all he does is bring on Ohio State people. He
Oh,
says it's accidental, and they
It
all
is.
end up being Ohio State fans. So I told him, well, I'm telling him now, we need to get Kalen on here just to even things out. A higher
okay.
profile Alabama versus all these other Ohio State guys, right? Former
Yeah.
players. So no, that's cool,
Caleb,
man.
Caleb, I'll tell you this though. My last year at VMI, a guy by the name of Richard McNutt was the my defensive back coach, and I had my best year I ever had. And he played for the football program, played for Ohio State.
Nah, don't do
So
it, Jamal. We don't need to bring another connection.
I'm just saying I got to give him a little bit of respect, man. He helped me. He helped me.
Yeah, that's awesome. As you can see, my trophies are behind. Not my trophies, my helmets, my montage of Ohio State things, my mouse pad, Ohio State. So
Oh
I'm
man.
I'm decked out. I'm
He's
from
deep in it.
Columbus, so it makes sense. Whereas
Okay. So you
Chase,
feeling good right now?
oh yeah, it's been a great couple weeks.
No, Caleb, just move on. You don't need to bring it up. No,
Yeah, Chase here lived in Alabama for a little bit. He was actually in Alabama whenever
that
you were in
counts.
Alabama.
Hey,
Really?
that's right. You're right.
Yeah,
Bingo.
Wow. Okay.
yeah. So he was like, since he was in the area, he was like, fine, I'll take
No,
Alabama as my
listen,
own.
I
So
didn't have a firm. I mean, I had an allegiance, but it was a local allegiance, and I hadn't formed my opinions of life
Yeah.
yet. So made a good
Hey,
choice.
before we finish, remind me. I want to show. I'm gonna show you something. Since you're an Alabama fan, I'm gonna show you a
Okay.
couple things.
I love to hear. I love it already. I don't even know what it is, but I'm excited. So
yeah. Well, that's cool. Thank you so much for your background on all of that. I would love to take a second to look at your time as a football player at VMI, because VMI is are they FCS or what division are
Yeah,
they in?
FCS, Division One
Okay.
FCS. I competed in the Big South Conference. We're currently in the Southern Conference for football.
Okay. Oh, are they in different conferences depending on what sport? Like basketball, they're in something else?
Well, the majority of all of our teams are in the Southern Conference, but I was just mentioning when we played in the Big South. We
Oh,
actually
okay.
just left the Southern Conference. But to be more specific, other than so lacrosse is now in the NEC
Hmm.
North, the
Okay.
NEC conference. We've got water polo that's in the MAC, and we have swimming and diving, which is in American East. But every other sport is in the Southern Conference.
Interesting. Well,
Yeah.
why is it that they have certain conferences? Are some conferences just not big enough for water polo or lacrosse or something?
The Southern Conference may not sponsor, some conferences don't sponsor certain sports,
Hmm.
so you can actually be an affiliate member. So we're an
Gotcha.
affiliate member of the MAC.
Yeah.
So the water polo team can compete for a championship in the MAC, but the Southern Conference unfortunately doesn't have
Yeah.
water polo. But like for wrestling, Appalachian State is in the Southern Conference because we sponsor wrestling, but their conference
Mm,
doesn't. So that
interesting.
happens a lot in certain
Yeah.
athletic programs. If you look hard enough, you'll be surprised
Yeah.
how many affiliate members you have.
Because like Gonzaga is in the Big 12 for basketball, but they don't even have a football team. Is that right? Or are they Big
Correct.
12?
Yeah. My wife's a Zag.
Oh, is she?
Wow.
Yeah,
Man,
yeah. She went to
man, you
Nice.
just
went to
multi.
Zag. Yeah, she's a Zag. The
How do you?
kennel.
I'm just curious. How do you pick a favorite team? Because you have so many connections from where you were an alumni, where you've worked. Your
Hey
wife
man, this is
went to.
my favorite
Yeah, I
team.
know.
Rob
VMI
Virginia
has got to be
Mill.
it, right?
Rob Virginia Mill. Now I'm always rooting for
For the
the
Tide.
teams
The
that
Tide.
are not that I'm not playing against.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to see Alabama do well. I want to see the College of Charleston do well. But
He wants to
now
see Ohio State fail.
No.
That's typical. Like everyone else outside of Ohio.
yeah. No, but so when I say RAH Virginia Mill, that's kind of our Boomer Sooner, our
Mm.
Roll Tide. So
Okay.
that's like our slogan,
Yeah.
Virginia Mill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So
like OHIO for Buckeyes.
Caleb,
Yeah.
come on.
I got it. I got it. I got the connection. All roads lead to Columbus. I'm telling you. It's
okay.
Columbus is like Rome.
He's been tough to deal with the last week,
Yeah,
as you can
man.
tell.
Hey, he's feeling good about
He's
himself,
feeling
man.
real
It ain't
good.
nothing wrong with that.
The best coach in college ever retires, and he thinks he's taken over the world.
To be
No, I'm
fair,
just
we
kidding.
we also lost Jim Knowles to Penn State, and Penn State's going to be a menace this year. But
Yeah. Yeah.
um, so I'm curious, as a director of athletics, and you know, being a football guy yourself, do you ever just go down to the field and show those young bucks what's up? You ever
You know what? I got some
put them through the ringer?
cleats. I've got some cleats. I haven't put the cleats on, but this year I am. I'm gonna be a little bit more active. But I'm 40 now, and I probably gained about another 20 pounds around here.
Yeah.
But no, I definitely am all about going out there having fun. I think the more you can do that and just be relatable and have, just a way you can connect with the athletes, I'm all about that. But yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna be tackling anybody, but I can still do some ladder drills and some routes every once in a while. But I'm a defensive guy, so I like to get
Mm,
interceptions.
nice. That's sweet. So, talk to me about let's maybe move into some of your experience now as being director of athletics.
Mhm.
So, how is it different than what you expected? Because we've had a few other athletic directors on, and afterwards I've been like, you know what? I wish I would have known what they thought going into it, and then their experience being within it. How does it differ? How's it better? Maybe how's it a little bit harder than they expected going into it?
Well, the buck stops at you. Obviously, I report to our president, but you definitely need to be ready to make decisions, and you need to be ready to uh, be honest. I think the biggest thing is to make sure you need to be honest if you don't know,
Mm,
or if you just need to tell somebody like, I need to get some help, or I need to find somebody who can do that. So, but yeah, the biggest thing, I knew that the buck stopped at me, but one of the things I think I've learned is, there's a difference between awareness and access. Being aware of certain things that are happening is great, but then access is, people are in front of you, so you really need to understand, all right, I need to be aware of this, but in terms of access, if you get everybody coming at you, you're not going to have enough time. So I think the other thing I've also learned is you got to understand priorities. Everyone's priority that comes to you is probably going to be a high priority. So you need to do a good job of kind of prioritizing in your mind what's a ball that can bounce and what's a ball that can break. The ones that can break, you want to try to get on top of, and the ones that can bounce, maybe you need to delegate that to somebody else, or give that some thought for another day. But and I think one of the things I enjoy is just meeting the cadet athletes and going to games and supporting my teams. I think anybody would say that, but it's just a little different when you're the athletic director, because most people just appreciate when you're there. And I learned that's a really big thing. Don't just sit in this office and not do anything. Like, go to practices, interact, tell your coaches that they're doing a great job. Ask them questions, get their input. So I've just tried to be very present, provide good effort, and just try to bring energy, because those are things that I can control. I think one of the things that I've learned is that's a challenge probably in anywhere, is just getting used to all of the I guess the institutional structure and how things work. Even though that I'm an alum, we have procurement, we have different ways you do this, different ways you do that. There are certain people you need to go to. So that takes time to know, all right, this is the person I can go to for this. This is the person I can go to for that. Um, and then, we're a smaller shop than the University of Washington. So I think it's just very important with your staff, you are aware of like realistic expectations. Because sometimes if you put expectations that are like out of the roof, that can be overwhelming for people. So I think the College of Charleston experience was one of my best experience for this particular job, is because I knew and I learned at that level, like, we've got to be creative. We got to be effective and efficient with our time. You know, there's probably 5 people in marketing, at those places. And we kind of got a half a person, one and a half. You got people doing a lot of different things. So I think setting expectations is also a big thing. These first 6 months, I've done a lot of just listening and locating, but now we're starting to get to a point where I'm starting to help develop a strategic plan, starting to work with others to try to form our identity and our culture. But I think still setting expectations of what you expect from your coaches, what you expect from your staff. We're still building that, but having some consistency, because if I tell you, Caleb, something different from Chase, then there's confusion. So really being clear on communication, so everybody understands what their role is and what their goal is.
Yeah. Now, forgive Chase's incompetence.
Oh, please. What?
Does everyone at the university have to be like in the military? I assume so with VMI, but
Great question. So at VMI, when you come into, or matriculate, as we say, as a freshman, and there's a term that we use for freshmen, the first semester, they're called RATs, RATS. Yeah.
Nice.
So
Nice.
there's a
humbling.
RAT line that they actually have to in barracks walk. But no, you have a choice whether you want to commission or just graduate and go into the civilian world like I did, or get your graduate degree, or just get a job. The mandatory commissioning was kind of cut in the early 90s. So if you want to commission, though, in the Air Force, Army, Navy, Marines, even the Space Force, there's opportunity for you to do that. By your junior year, you kind of need to take that road, or
That'd be
take the
decided,
road
yeah.
of, I'm going to graduate. But you still have to do ROTC until you hit commencement, which is graduation. It's just going to look a little different for, Caleb, the commissioning route guy, versus Chase, the graduate who wants to, go into business,
Yeah.
working for Starbucks Corporation or something.
Yeah,
Sounds like
you got Caleb. Come on, you're too wimpy. Come on,
yeah.
just kidding.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to know. That's what I was going to tell Chase, but I thought you would explain it a little bit better. So I wanted you to
Yeah.
take that. So what's been your favorite thing about being back and being the athletic director? Because obviously there's a lot on your plate.
Yeah.
And then I have another question, but I'll let you mention that one first.
Yeah. It's just, like I said, it's surreal, but my family, that's number one for me. I literally am gonna leave here and walk up it's gonna take me 5 minutes to walk home. So I live on post. And one of the perks here is, the athletic director and a few other leaders within Post's campus, they have their home, paid for. So yeah, we got a
Sweet.
house.
Yeah.
And that's probably the sweetest thing, is just being able to go have lunch with my family, or be able to get home, with my wife and the kids, like that. I think the other thing is, as I mentioned before, like, I'm able to talk to the cadet athletes and relate to them. I'm walking through the same walls that I walked through from 2003 to 2007, and being able to just talk the talk and kind of say, like, you can do this, is really encouraging for them. And I think, last but not least, I love sports, and I'm just so excited about what we can be. We got some really, really good coaches here, really good staff and administrators, and I'm just really impressed with how hard they work, and just impressed with just the ideas they have. And at the end of the day, I'm just really here to serve them. So it's been fun, and I think over the next couple of years, you're going to continue to see us grow in a lot of different ways.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I can tell that you have a lot of passion for not only sports but for your job and for the people that work around you. That's very admirable.
Yeah.
My other question that I wanted to ask about athletic directors is are you actually like scheduling all of these football games or other sporting events? Because I see these, like, next year Ohio State is taking on Texas in the
Yeah.
shoe.
Yeah.
And I've always been told that athletic directors are the one to schedule it. But how does that conversation go down? Are you making phone calls to Duke University, say, hey, we want to come down to Chapel Hill and see what's up, or is it the other way around? Just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Every school's different. When I've worked with, um, I guess, for basketball is one of those sports where each year, you're probably building your non-conference. Your conference games are kind of always scheduled, or in a format where when you're playing home and away. But usually, from a basketball standpoint, since you have a few more non-conference games, that one's a little bit more year to year. Football, I mean, I think we have a lot of our non-conference scheduled out to 2030 or
Wow.
2031. Usually that can be AD to AD, or sport administrator to sport administrator. Coaches are obviously involved. At this level, there's a lot of collaboration too. There's numerous programs out there in terms of like scheduling software and programs, where you can go on, click FCS, find the teams that are looking to play a FCS team in this region, or a FBS team is looking to play a FCS team. And then you can kind of reach out via that particular portal or software program, and you can find teams. But I think, it all depends on your program and what you're trying to do. Some programs are trying to continue to build their reputation in a certain region. Maybe they're trying to recruit, or find opportunities where they've never, been before, to kind of maximize their program. But I've seen certain coaches, like, they may have 5 seniors that are from Texas. So they'll try to play a team in Texas. A lot of the softball teams that I work with realize, like, we want to give our girls an opportunity to kind of go back home and play in front of their friends. But yeah, the scheduling is important. Some schools, like an FCS school, has revenue that comes from that. You know, maybe a team will pay you $250,000 to come and play them. You utilize that on travel, but you may have another $50,000 that you can put back into the bigger pot, which is your athletic department. So
Shout out to
some,
Northern Illinois taking on Notre Dame and got
yeah,
paid for it
yeah,
too.
yeah. And hey, but you always want to go to win. You
That's
know, you
true.
don't want to go up there just saying like we want to just get paid. Like, no, man. If you go up there, you want to try to get a dub.
Who's the monster you're taking down next year?
Well, you know what? We got Navy. You know, football's got Navy first
Oh,
game of the
okay.
year. Yeah,
Hey,
yeah,
Navy's
yeah,
tough.
yeah,
This is a tough time to be going up against Navy.
yeah. No, they've been doing it. I mean,
Yeah,
Army, Navy. So hey, we got to prepare.
that's
Beat
sweet.
Navy.
Yeah, that'll be
Rob
great.
Virginia Mill.
Yeah, okay. So we talked about football, kind of basketball, some of those bigger name, maybe bigger funded programs. I'm interested to see a school not maybe in one of the Power Five conferences or something like that. How do you deal with other sports and making sure that they're not neglected just because maybe they don't have the same amount of funding, but the planning and the work towards them? How do you delegate? Is it delegation, or how do you make sure that those aren't losing attention?
No, that's a great question. We were talking. One of our senior women's administrator, Emily Fulton, and I were talking about where we're at now, and I think it's all about strategy. You know, each program needs certain things. Usually, those are not the same. So what the water polo team needs may be different from what men's soccer needs. So I think the biggest thing is developing a strategy in terms of what each program needs from an operation standpoint, from a scholarship standpoint, and then kind of attack it that way. Um, but again, it goes back to being present. It goes back to stopping at practices, because when people see that you're there, they know that you care. Um,
Yeah,
and whether you win or whether you lose, you know, you definitely want to be there to be supportive. And I think it's also setting expectations. You know, of course, we want to win championships, but, you know, there's certain programs that are taking some time to continue to build. And you need to make sure that you reinforce the importance of understanding what the build is and where you want to go. And usually you're able to retain coaches, because that's the biggest thing. If you can retain good coaches, most of the time they're going to retain good players,
yeah,
and then from there you're going to have success. And at a school like VMI, our coaches are ones that we want to retain, especially because it's such a unique place. We really want to make sure we maximize their opportunities here. And I think some of the other things are like our wrestling program, for instance. When I met with them earlier on, they talked about social media and exposure, you know, being very important. So, I mean, I'm an out of the box guy. I
yeah.
reached out to Rock Harrison, DM'd him, and said, "Hey, you know, I'm the AD at VMI. Wrestling program is great. You know, great group. It'd be great if I could connect with you on just what you do." And Rock was like, "Hey, I'll come down there and meet these guys." So we had ESPN Wrestling, you know,
That's
that
sweet. Yeah,
came down to just get a chance to know our guys. So I think it's just being willing to just try new things and listen. Like if you listen, most of the time the student athlete is going to tell you what they're looking for. And if you
yeah.
keep them happy and they have a good experience, you retain these people.
Okay, so going maybe not completely off that, but something you said. You had talked about how you keep around good coaches, they'll retain good players and good programs.
Hmm.
I'm interested because coaching is, I don't know if it's necessarily changed. It's probably always been this way, but it is a win or go home just as much as, you know what I mean, anything else is. But if they don't succeed, even for a short amount of time, they're on the hot seat. Everything goes towards them for the team not performing. Whether it doesn't matter if you have a bunch of injuries, no one cares. It doesn't matter if you've got, a weird year where there are other circumstances, no one cares. From your perspective, you're in the job now that has a little more say and a little more influence on that. What's your perspective? Not obviously, I don't want your coaches hearing this and being like, he's gonna fire me.
Yeah.
But what's your perspective on how that is done? Do you think it just is the way that the job is because they demand success, or do you think that people jump the gun too quickly on someone that might be able to turn it around and make a good program, but just has circumstances that get in the way.
Yeah. No, I think every person is different in terms of like what they feel is right in terms of expectations. With me coming in this year, um, I've never been someone that says you have to win X amount of games, you have to do this, you have to do that. I just told our coaches I want to see positive trends this year, positive trends on the field, positive trends in the classroom, positive trends on the hill, in barracks.
Yeah.
And I think there's some non-negotiables that I have. I want us to be compliant. I want us to run a first class program. I want us to represent VMI well. I want us to graduate men and women to be great people. One of the things at VMI we've been saying a lot is compete to win. I kind of added compete to win with a championship mindset. The reason why I added with a championship mindset is, before you become a champion, you got to believe you're a champion. And I think that that's very important to me, especially coming in these 6 months. I know there's some programs again that may be trending a little bit higher than others right now, but I do think you definitely need to give coaches time. If you're hiring a coach and you only give the person 1 year, unless they're really detrimental to the culture and the program, that's probably not good. It's firing or getting rid of a coach really, really is damaging to a program at times, because when you think about it, you're really just taking someone out that a lot of kids, a lot of coaches invested in.
Yeah.
So that's really one of the last resorts I would say you want to get to. But, this is a business and you have certain times where things need to be done. But I like my coaches, and
That's good. Yeah. That's
I'm
good.
excited about what they're doing. We actually are in the running for hiring a new women's soccer head coach. So that's been really refreshing. This is going to be my first hire as an AD. So just really looking forward to bringing him or her
Yeah.
on board. And I think the biggest thing is my job as the AD, is to kind of move things out of their way so they can just be
Mm-hmm.
great coaches and provide them a great opportunity, whether that's operations, whether that's scholarships, whether that's funding. And there's obviously new things that's happening in the landscape, but I always someone mentioned this an athletic. I think it was Troy Dannon at Nebraska. Coaches win games, coaches win meets, coaches win matches, but athletic departments win championships. So it takes an entire athletic department to win championships. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
No, it does. And I was just thinking about it because, earlier in the year, Caleb and I were talking obviously about the stuff going on with Ryan Day. They lose to Michigan, and all of a sudden there are calls everywhere.
Yeah.
No, he's not good, even though he has like one of the top 5 win percentages ever in college football, and he's only lost a handful of games total.
Yeah.
Well, you lose the Michigan one, and then you end up going on to win the national championship, and still they're calling for you to get fired. So
Yeah.
it was crazy to me to
Yeah.
think that,
And that expectation is,
man.
that's a whole different degree right there where, at those schools, you're talking about eras that have
Yeah.
just been 10-1, 11-2. So those blue blood power 4, power 5 teams, yeah, when you're in that position, there's an expectation
Yeah.
where, you come in, you're not reloading, you're just recharging, and you're ready to go.
Yeah.
I'd argue that the toughest fan bases on their schools would be Ohio State and Alabama, just because the expectation is national championship every single year. When you fall short, you get the heat. So
Exactly.
well, I've been writing down notes left and right. You've got some awesome things that I'm going to be able to reference. Before you become a champion, you have to believe you're a champion. Love that. That's an incredible quote. Love that one.
Yeah.
Really quick, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Test your VMI knowledge on their history. It's just one question, not too complicated.
Okay.
But VMI's most successful athletic program, measured by NCAA championships, is what sport?
I
know it's
track
tough.
and field.
Not from what my research says. It might be right, but from what I was looking at, it actually says rifle. Rifle is the national championship, or they
Okay.
have the most championships in rifle than any other sport.
Isn't rifle
Shout
under
out
the
to
same
Coach
umbrella?
Byther, man. Okay.
So was that Chase?
What is rifle? Is rifle its own individual sport? Rifle?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
We got a lot of banners. We got a lot of banners up in track and field. So that's the one reason I was thinking like over time. But okay, rifle.
And then the other thing I was going to say as a follow-up to something you said, I got a lot of experience playing FIFA. So if you want to interview me for that women's soccer,
I knew it was coming.
Coach,
okay.
I knew it.
Well, here's the thing, man. Y'all need to come down and do like a yips on the road, and come to VMI, man. We can set it up like college game day,
Oh,
yeah.
We got to get y'all on the road, man. Get y'all to Lexington.
I'm so down. I've been telling Caleb we need to make our own college game day for at least the last minute and a half.
Hey, you're more than welcome to come to VMI. I'll make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome.
Keydets and the yips.
Yes, Keydets and the yips. Oh, that was the other thing that I was doing some research on VMI, and Mo the kangaroo is your mascot. We gotta talk.
Where'd
about
that come from? Caleb makes fun of mascots all the time. So
yeah. So Keydets is, if you look up the history, there's like a Southwest draw of Keydat. So that's how you get that. But I believe I'm going to say this right, but there was a competition for the mascot name. And there were two cheerleaders that thought that the kangaroo was kind of an unconventional. So they I guess entered the name, and that's how we came up with kangaroo, the kangaroo as being our mascot. And the kangaroo was actually called TD Bound. And then they changed it to Mo. So, actually one of the things that I'm looking at doing is creating an official mascot mark. So that's sneak preview stuff right there, man. So we're because don't get me wrong, I love the spider, but we got a story to tell with the Mo mark, the mascot mark. So we get some once we get these logos, I'm gonna get you guys some fresh crispy hats, man, with the Mo up there.
100%. We will wear those on the podcast, guaranteed.
Yeah, on the road too.
Yes.
I can all but guarantee that the kangaroo is not conventional to Virginia. So
No.
I think there's cheerleaders around or something.
Yeah, it's only a few schools that have a mascot.
Yeah,
that's a kangaroo. I mean, I know you got UMKC, you got Akron, the Zips. There's probably obviously us, but not too many.
Yeah, I don't know any other Buckeyes or Elephants for the Alabama Crimson Tide, which still does not make sense to me. But that's a conversation for another day.
Caleb. Don't worry about it.
I want to actually get into the NIL stuff. You mentioned that earlier. That's kind of it was coming up more whenever you were at College Charleston.
Yeah.
And now it's pretty relevant here. And then in addition to that, whenever we talk to Daniel Ray, who's a connection that we've had on the podcast before, Associate Athletic Director of Development over at St. Mary's College in California, he mentioned that being at a smaller school, it's really relying on donors. Like you don't have a whole lot of alum. I mean, you have alum helping you out and paying as they see fit, but it's a lot of looking around for those donors to support your athletic program. So I'm curious how that is at VMI, and then I'll dive into a NIL question as well.
Yeah, one of the things that we're exploring right now are NIL, and seeing how this can work here at VMI. There's obviously some things that need approvals by, your boards and the powers that be. But what we're doing right now is providing a lot of education, because I think that's the key is, of course, what you see on the headlines, ESPN, Fox News, these big money deals that go to these athletes, and that is NIL. But I kind of look at NIL as name, image, and life skill. There's ways that you can teach, these athletes about financial literacy. There's athletes that want to be entrepreneurs. We didn't have that opportunity back before 2021. There's a lot of businesses, when they are educated about what NIL is, they realize that like athletes are great ambassadors. They're great people that can really help elevate your brand and elevate your program. And some of the other things are, you know, it's not all about money either. It's about trade. I'm just looking in the back. Caleb, it seemed like you got a can of like, is it, uh, what's that, chili? Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
you're muted, Caleb. We
Skyline
can't even
chili.
hear it.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Sorry,
So
Skyline
no, no.
Chili. It's an Ohio
Well,
thing.
yeah, a lot of times people don't realize, from an NIL standpoint, if you like Skyline Chili and you reach out to that brand, they may be able to give you Skyline Chili for like the whole year or something. So I think my
Say it
biggest
ain't
thing
so,
at V,
Caleb.
Yeah, we're gonna.
yeah, there you
Yep,
go.
sponsored by Skyline. That's what I'm talking
There
about.
you go. There you go. So no, I think that's something at VMI we're definitely exploring. I feel if you're not thinking about NIL, wherever you are now, you are behind. And it's one of those things you need to realize that it's here. You need to get comfortable with it. But, at the same time, we still have a need for scholarships, operations. There's always going to be so many things you need. But I think now, even at a small school like VMI, I think there's an avenue for us. And I'm excited to kind of dive more into that. Now, working at the University of Washington, yeah, I was never involved with the collective, but
Mm-hmm.
Adidas and Michael Penix and Romo Dunze, they were the first football athletes that were a part of that Adidas deal. I
Mm-hmm.
was involved in that. I was at the table, kind of helping that process go. So I've seen it at the highest of the high, but I also seen a young man. His father had Lou Gehrig's disease. His grandfather had Lou Gehrig's disease, and he did a soccer clinic to raise money for the proceeds to go to there. So like that's NIL too. So I think when people kind of sit back and slow down and not get too hyped over all of this money, 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 but just more opportunity and what the opportunity can do for you, there's a lot that can come from it.
Yeah, that's. I think it's. I think it could be horrible for the sport if it's not approached correctly. NIL.
I agree.
and and that's what makes me nervous. I think there needs to be some type
Yeah,
of
yeah.
Nick
There's not
Saban
a lot.
character leading it.
Yeah, there's not a lot of people thinking probably all about the ways that I'm thinking about it, but it is a way to retain athletes.
Yeah,
I think that is the best way to look at NIL. How can you retain the athlete? You know, um, and if NIL does provide an opportunity for that person, why wouldn't you want to retain that person? Because that person is invested into the program. And yeah, if it's something you can do, why wouldn't you do it? Especially if it's an avenue that's going to help you do better within your department.
yeah. I love both the transfer portal and the idea of NIL. We'll see how it kind of plays out, but it's leveled the playing field a lot in terms of at least football. I can't speak so much to the other sports that benefit from it, but like look at I'm beating a dead horse here, but Ohio State
Oh,
um,
Caleb.
with
Can you
with the
tell?
expanded
Can you
playoffs.
tell, Jam? I mean, look what I
Yeah,
have to
man,
deal with every episode.
he likes it.
He likes it.
With the expanded playoffs, that obviously helps. But the quote unquote best team in the country would have been out of the playoffs if we didn't have the expanded playoffs. But then also they wouldn't have been the best team in the country if they didn't have supposedly 20 million on NIL and other
Yeah, man.
commitments.
Wow. That's
you you got 20 million to drop on your team, GM? You gonna
nah,
no?
nah, not no Buckeye money. Wow.
Yeah.
They don't mess around there.
Yeah, it's fun for the fans. That's for
That's
sure.
that's Big Ten conference there.
Yeah. So, do you have any thoughts on NIL and how it could be made better outside of just some type of regulation? I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think it can be made better by just educating these young people on like what an agent is and what percentage an agent should take, reading through all of your contracts. There's a lot of people that are going to come at you, and you think they have your best interests. I mean, you should be interviewing them. You should ask them
Yeah.
questions. You just don't sign with somebody. Or what are you signing? um, Keep in mind that you may be 18, but you're going to be 48, 58? What are you connecting with or endorsing? Is that something that on your resume later you may realize, like, I shouldn't have done that? What are your values? What are the things that you aren't thinking about now that you are going to think about later? And I think, Deion Sanders talked about it too, like financial
Yeah.
literacy. I mean, financial education. If I were in their shoes, I definitely would be saving this money. I wouldn't be out just buying a car or doing stuff like that. But if you don't have guidance, um, it can be detrimental. And it's sad to see, someone go to school 1, school 2, school 3, school 4, and they just keep transferring. And when you think about it, when they get the diploma, like, what type of connection do they have to the people that were around them? They
Yeah.
just really don't have anything, I guess, strong. It's just more of just moving along just to move along. So it is kind of like mind-boggling to me sometimes when I think about how college athletics have changed. But I just think if these if these young people, young men and young women, are just not thinking, they really can mess themselves up. I've heard a lot of horror stories of people or agents telling players to get into the portal. And sometimes these young people don't even get picked up, and then they're lost
Yeah.
out of their scholarship, and you're like going to a junior college. So I mean, and not to say a junior college is a bad route, but you're thinking you're going to get something and you don't get it, and then next thing you know, everyone's like, what happened to Jamaal? Like, he's not even playing football anymore. He's not even doing this or doing that. I just think if you got a good coach and you got a good situation, and if there's an NIL opportunity out there for you, great. But keep in mind, the grass isn't greener on the other side. We actually have a young man. His name is Ricky Bradley Jr. Ricky matriculated here as a freshman. He left after his freshman year, went to Georgia State, played a little bit, but didn't play sparingly, but played sparingly. And then he just transferred back to VMI. We actually have 5 transfers that came to VMI, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh," But with Ricky coming back, it shows like he wants to be a part of the VMI alumni base. He wants the
Hmm.
education. So every kid isn't like him. So I commend him for coming back, and he actually got SoCon Basketball Player of the Week. So yeah,
Nice.
great stories. But yeah, Caleb, man, it's tough, man. And now, like, your high schoolers, that's what the first thing they think about now is NIL. Where with, like, probably us, I remember a head coach coming into your house, offering you a scholarship. Your mom and dad are in there, you cooking them dinner, and next thing you know, you signing the dotted line, going to your school. And it's like, if a kid comes were to say, the first thing he says to me, he or she, is like, what's my NIL deal or something? I don't
Hmm.
know if that's the kid I want to have, you know, leading my team or being a part of my team, whether you're at Ohio State or whether you're at Oklahoma Panhandle University. I mean, if you're motivated by that and that's the first thing and the only thing, wasting my time, man.
Mm. So how do you deal with, I mean, because you bring up an interesting point. I feel like there are those that maybe have top level talent, but their mind's not really right because of this money. It's inflated what their view is of their position and what they're trying to achieve. How do you deal with, though? Because at the end of the day, like you said, it's a business and you got to be successful. So what's your mindset on a player like that? Obviously, I agree with you. If someone comes in and said, hey, how much money can you pay me? Well, okay, you can hit the road, Jack. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
see you later. I'll go talk to someone new. I feel like it's getting to a point where I've heard stories enough from a lot of other people that that's not uncommon anymore, that conversation is a little maybe too important to some of these young people than it should be. How do you deal with the balance of the talent versus the character? Because you want both, but sometimes, you're trying to build the best team possible. You're also trying to build the best character of a program possible.
Yeah. I think, I think, I mean, that's a really good question. The way I look at it is, if you're able to retain a core of talent or core group within a sport, over time, that group is going to become successful. Um, but if people are just going in and out of your program, regardless of NIL, that probably says a lot about the culture. I always just go back to, man, if the experience is good and the culture is good, the right people are going to stay in the program. Um, Most of the time, if the coach has the trust of that player will be loyal to the program. But we all know that there's some athletes out there that don't have that trust and they are just looking at it for themselves. I mean, don't get me wrong, coaches that do well, sometimes coaches leave and they take opportunities to better themselves. I'm never going to try to hold uh, any student athlete back from any opportunity, but I also think good culture will always win in terms of just
Mm.
keeping people in a place where they're loved and they're respected and they just realize you got the best intentions for them. Because I think when you show that, it's hard to leave that, especially
Yeah.
if you're winning and you're having fun. But at the same time, in this landscape, loyalty is just different these days.
Yeah. Not quite the same for sure. You know, it's
Mhm.
funny. When I was in middle school and I thought I was going to become a professional athlete, I wrote one of my assignments was I had a Caleb. Hey, I hear you laughing in the background. You snickering. Okay. All right. Shh, listen. So I wrote a paper and well, we got to choose our paper. We got to write the topic. And I wrote on the athletes, college athletes should be paid. And the pushback I got in that classroom from everyone was fierce.
When
And it's
was
funny.
this?
What was
You
that?
said, what year was this?
Ooh, you're asking some tough questions. 20,
2005, probably.
that, sure. No, a
Man,
little bit
so you
later
were
than that.
ahead of your time.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But it's so weird
Man,
now because nowadays everyone's like, I've always been in favor.
Chase
I've always been.
Stradamus.
That's right. Caleb, you hear that? How do you write that down? Okay, I want you to call me that next episode.
No.
Chase Stradamus. Let's
Chase
go,
Stradamus.
baby.
I like that. You know what? I like that.
Socrates. Like Socrates?
Yeah,
Sorry.
I like.
Ooh,
I like.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave the nicknames to Jam.
I'm just saying when I was doing that, and now I hear. I mean, my experience obviously forms how I feel about it, but now I hear everyone like, "Oh, I've always been in favor. Yeah, I've always wanted players to be paid." I'm like, "No, you haven't." When everyone else was against it, you were like, "It's going to ruin the game. It's going to change everything. It's going to destroy these players." So I agree with you, but I think some of those things that were concerns maybe aren't pushbacks for why we shouldn't do it, but it's still kind of in this like,
oh yeah. I
I don't
mean,
know how we fix it. We got to fix it,
yeah.
but because it's
No,
kind of getting away.
this is a tough time for a lot of people. A lot of athletic directors, different coaches are retiring. Um, so for some, this is just not what they feel is the time for them to be around. College athletics. But I think at this level, I'm still seeing just athletes that just want to play ball, that want to be on a team and they want to be successful. Um, of course, every school, you're going to have people that talk about NIL and whatnot. But like I said, most of the athletes here, they're just really motivated about getting a degree, playing, and just finding ways to be good teammates and just trying to make their experience better. I mean, that's really the biggest thing I'm trying to do because these kids deserve it here. And I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of things we can continue to do at VMI to elevate that.
Love that. And that was actually going to be my next question is about leadership. Because
Yeah.
obviously VMI, there's a lot about leadership in the military,
Yes.
different levels of military and whatnot. So I assume it's kind of harped on a lot there. So what kind of initiatives or projects or how do you try to enable your athletes to be leaders whenever like post athletic career, whether it be pro or after college?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I'm working on right now is what's called the Key That for Life program. It's a transformational program that I want to put in place, and I will put in place for all of our cadet athletes. And there's 3 buckets or 3 pillars. Pillar 1 is going to be character and leadership development. So as you talked about, Caleb, we're going to have initiatives that help shape that leader, help shape who you are. So you're ready and you're prepared to be that person when you leave, but also while you're here on post. The next pillar is community and citizen soldier development, which is, being involved in the community, providing service. One of the things at VMI we talk about is being a citizen soldier, having a duty to do things for the community. And then last but not least is going to be professional development, making sure that we prepare all of our cadet athletes for their life after commencement. So the Cadet for Life program is something that we are going to establish. We're in a draft phase right now, but that's one area. We have a lot of leadership opportunities at VMI to begin with. I was a class president, the general committee or the leadership opportunities on post. There's a plethora of them, whether you want to serve within the Corps of Cadets, in a leadership role within the regiment, or the class system. There's opportunities to serve in different clubs, in different activities. So there's multiple ways to develop your leadership skills. We have what's called SAC, Student Athlete Advisory Committee that the NCAA sponsors. So we have leaders within our student athlete group that are trying to do things within the athletic department. So there's a lot of meat on the bone, and I think there's going to be numerous opportunities for us to lead. I think the biggest thing is just learning what they want to do and finding opportunities for that. We have an entrepreneurship initiative that VMI has put together where if you want to be an entrepreneur, you can build that in kind of a think tank style environment and have different people that are entrepreneurs to help you with your particular goal. So there's multiple opportunities, and commissioning in the military, and serving our country. About 55% of the Corps serve in the military. So there's lots, and we have a Center for Leadership and Ethics Center, and that's exactly what you think, leadership and ethics. So we're trying to secure a couple athletic related speakers to come and talk to the Corps of Cadets. So lots of cool stuff.
Sounds really cool.
I didn't anticipate that many different projects and initiatives to help out with leadership at such a small FCS school. So that's incredible.
Yeah.
You guys are offering it to your students.
Yeah, this Cadet for Life program, man. I really want to get this off over these next couple months. And I'm really excited about it. I know we just had so the Cadet Club is that is our fundraising arm. So in terms of, if you're giving money, you would give money to the Cadet Club, and that will help our athletic program. So we just had our Cadet Club Board of Governors meeting last weekend. So it was really cool to kind of update them on things that we're trying to prepare for. Nice. And one of them was the Cadet for Life program.
That's awesome. Well, we're going to wrap up here just because we're at our max time with you. But it has been really awesome to learn about your different experiences and knowledge.
Yeah, big time.
Jam, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a blast diving into it.
Well, Caleb and Chase, man, if you guys are ever in Lexington, Virginia, please reach out to me. And Raw Virginia Mail. Chase, hold on a second. I want to show you something.
That's what I'm talking about.
While we're waiting for him, to our listeners, don't forget to follow us and review us. We're on every social platform, so don't forget to do that. Now, Jam, what you got for us?
And we gave a little roll tide at the end of that, Caleb. I think we need to start. You need to start ending our podcast with a.
So I'm gonna show you a couple things. So
there it is. Here we go.
All right.
Ooh, okay.
Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. This is some championship rings.
Oh,
so this is
there was an S. That's plural. Oh,
yeah. So this is. it's a national championship ring. This is
Ooh.
I think this is Crimson Tide, Notre Dame. Yeah, yeah. That's when the Alabama beat Notre Dame. All right.
Come
Let
on.
me give you a couple more.
That's what I'm talking about. Look
So
at this.
this is the 2015 National Championship trophy. I mean, that 2015 National Champion ring here.
Who all gets those within the department? Is it
Yeah,
everyone?
our staff actually
Ooh,
had
look at that
them.
lighting. Look at that.
Jeez.
Man, you got to put a battery in that thing?
Huh?
So just run on Alabama power.
Yeah, there you go. They run on Alabama Power.
That was
So
sweet.
yeah, I got a couple more.
Yeah,
You know,
how do you get one of them? I'm just asking for a friend. You know,
hey man, see, you come down to Lexington, you know, we can do a photo shoot, man. I can let you have some of these, put them on.
that's
I'm gonna
right.
show
And I'll
you
take a
one
picture.
thing.
And
Now this is when I was at Washington. Yeah,
You're,
this is a 2024. They give you these bowl gifts.
oh, okay. Well, that's
Yeah,
sweet.
yeah,
Yeah, that's neat.
still
yeah.
on his pillow
So
and
Yeah,
everything.
it doesn't look like you wear it though.
I got a couple things in here, you know.
Yeah.
But when you said Alabama, I was like, man,
Spoke to your soul.
I've got to show you some things.
That was awesome, Jim. Well, again, thank you so much for coming on. Remember, to our listeners, never stop loving sports, and catch us next time on the episode.